Yeehaw! Welcome to Creative Block. We're your host, Gene.
And we interview people in the animation industry about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We asked people on Twitter if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Jordan Rosato.
Yeah!
Hello!
Yeehaw! Did you like my Texas intro?
I appreciate that you yeehawed for me, yes.
Yeah. Got a yeehaw. Jordan, tell us who you are and what you do.
I am Jordan, as you well know. I am from Texas, hence the yeehaw. And I am a storyboard artist / director in the animation industry. I met you guys back on the Loud House in our good old days.
And
And
back when we had an office to go to and
I know.
we could hang out.
I miss that. I miss it.
Yeah.
Office times.
What kind of got you started in your career path?
Yes. So, I think I was just always interested in drawing. I was really into cartoons and stuff as a kid, as most of us were, but I don't think it ever left. I'm going to say the same anecdote. My mom likes to tell me that I was always drawing even before I could hold a pencil. I would sit in her lap and kind of demand her to draw for me.
Director Jordan, I was already kicking in.
I was already kicking in. I knew it.
Come on, Mom.
Come on, Mom. So I was really into The Lion King. It was my favorite. So often it was like, Mom, will you draw me Simba? So she would, of course, oblige and draw me some Simba. But all through the process, I would start crying and telling her she was doing it wrong because she wasn't drawing fast enough or doing it in the right order because Simba obviously has 4 legs, Mom, and she wasn't done.
Yeah. Oh, Mom. Oh, you were like that person. You were the person who's like, why does it only have 2 legs?
Yeah, how long does this take, you guys? Come on.
Can you let me finish? That was a thing that would happen to me all the time. Drawing, people be like, hey, draw me. And then I wouldn't be done.
Gosh.
And they're like, why do I only have one eye? I'm like, can you fucking wait?
Were you watching? Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day.
It wasn't built in a day. This is why I'm not drawing on camera, I guess.
It's hard.
It's hard. It's scary. You guys are doing great.
We've done it a lot, and you're doing all the talking, so we don't have to think about it.
That's true.
But so your mom. I mean, I've met your mom. Your mom's great. Hi, Leanne.
Stop. Leave her out of this.
She's really sweet. And she's very supportive. She's a great mom.
She is.
I know she's gonna be listening to this.
Oh, she definitely is. Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
Love you, Mom. Sorry, I was crying in your
Love you,
lap
Mom.
throughout my childhood.
When was the moment when you thought that you could probably be an artist, for your job? Or, when did you kind of think, I could make a living out of this?
Yeah, I think I was always drawing, so it was, the one thing I was interested in doing. And I think it was in high school where I kind of put 2 and 2 together that it was a career path that real people. I was watching a lot of Nickelodeon, a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the creators of that show would be on commercials and talking about their show, and then it was oh my gosh, real people make these things. And I was drawing enough at the time to be oh, if this is a career path, and I was in high school kind of looking for what I wanted to do next. So that kind of put me on the path to look for a school where I could major and study animation. And I think that's what led me to SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, where they have a decent animation program over there. Mm-hmm. And I think I was from Texas, so we didn't have a lot of exposure to the entertainment industry and who knows what goes on inside of the walls of entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't know the different career paths within that. I just knew I wanted to be a part of it. I think at the beginning I wanted to be the next Glenn Keane, where he was a character animator. So bringing life to these beloved characters. And I thought that was where the meat and potatoes were of animation, where you were kind of deciding what brings these characters to life. And once I was in school, I think my sophomore year, a friend of mine was talking about how she wanted to get into storyboarding. And I was like, what's that? And I think the way it was described to me then was like, it's kind of the building blocks to kind of decide what the acting is and like the fun stuff of animation. So I like kind of, it was on my radar at that point. And like taking some more classes, it felt like the perfect marriage between comics and animation. Because growing up, I was doing like lots of comics before I had like animation programs and the classes and knew what the heck I was doing. So it felt like, yeah, that was kind of the sweet spot for me and what I wanted to do.
What kind of comics were you drawing when you were in high school?
Oh my gosh, embarrassing one.
Go on.
It was like, okay, I started with fan comics, so I think fan fiction, but fan comics.
Like from,
it was,
what IPs?
Yeah.
IPs. Okay, we got some Pokemon, we got some Digimon, we got some Teen Titans, I think was like the big one. My sister would play volleyball and I would get dragged to all her tournaments. So in the bleachers, I was sitting there like filling up my lined notebooks with Teen Titans fan comics. That was the big one. But I think on like in tandem, I was starting to like create my own characters and stories. So kind of got into my own original ideas with that too. And so everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like
fanfics are a good place to start, man. I don't know. It's like you already have all the tools
right
that you need, and so you're kind of just like experimenting and trying things within a world, I guess, that's like already done. Most of the work is done.
Built. Yeah.
By any chance, did you share your comics anywhere, like online, or not that I want people to like look them up, but just did you have like a community that you shared the comics with? Because I'm asking the question mostly because like the very first time and almost the only time I wrote and drew a fan comic was this year, like 2021. I drew the Animal Crossing fan comic, and I wanted to because the community was on Twitter, and that kind of like fueled my passion to make it, like to like write and draw the whole story. So I was wondering if you had something like that as a teenager.
Not for my comics. So I think, well, this was like a little bit probably middle school. I wasn't as plugged into the internet at that point. So it was just like mostly for me and my friends. I think in high school I was really into DeviantArt, where I wasn't posting so much comics. It was more just illustrations and designs and stuff. But I would follow a lot of comics on there. So there's lots of outlets for artists on the internet.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Were you active in the fandoms, or were you just more like external?
Oh my gosh. I was, but I'm going to sound like a complete nerd because I'm going to bring up Avatar again. I was super active in this Avatar board. They had like a online drawing program, and like that was the thing that I was like excited to get out of bed in the morning to go to school, do my homework, and then come home and draw some Avatar fan art on this
that's great
board. Yeah, it was so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It kind of like inspired me to get like my first tablet and start experimenting with like drawing programs, digital ones. Yeah, and my mom was super supportive and just like trying to figure out what would get that same experience that I was getting on like the program online to do in the computer. But yeah, lots of Avatar.
Yeah, and like forums is a thing that I don't think we've really talked about much, and like at least for me that was like super formative. Was like there was like a couple of forums that I just somehow stumbled on. One was a webcomic. It was like off of a webcomic that I was reading. But I like made a bunch of artist friends on. You don't know it. It was a webcomic called The Modest Destiny. If anybody out there has ever heard of it. Funny enough, I'm rereading it right now just because I needed something to like I don't know, just something nostalgic. And it's like such a webcomic from 2003. Like it's a sprite comic, and like there's punchlines where a character's just like, I hate you. It's like the most like 2003 shit ever. But I was on a forum of that comic, and I made it. It was a little artist community, and like it was nice. That was the early Discords. Now it's Discord. That's kind of the thing that I think Zoomers are all into.
Discord's getting huge.
It's just forums. I feel like it's the same exact vibe. It's which is great.
Yeah.
I really like it because I think that like Twitter and all these big apps, it's like too much all at once, and so you end up not connecting with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if with these little pockets like forums, like Discords, like it's easier to form connections with people and find like-minded people.
Totally.
So after high school, what kind of after SCAD,
Yeah.
what was your journey?
My journey. Okay. I guess like even during SCAD, I was applying to internships like every year because that was what Rosato children do.
That's what they do.
That's what we do. So I kept applying. I was even applying to like the big ones, like the Disneys and the Nickelodeons, and like not hearing anything back, obviously. But in my junior year, we had like a career fair, and Nickelodeon was there, and I like had my eyes on it. So that's kind of the first time I got like a face-to-face with a recruiting advisor at Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
And I had let her know that I was like, oh, I've like applied to your internship. And she's like, oh, we've already filled it, but like apply again this year. And she gave me some pointers. So I think getting her kind of professional feedback, I knew what I was aiming for at that point. So I applied again and like finally got the internship, which was super exciting right before my senior year of college. So at Nickelodeon, I was interning on The Fairly Odd Parents, which was awesome because I actually knew that show.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
during that time, I was still in school. I knew about storyboarding and I wasn't super strong in it. And I was a lot more comfortable with character design. So like I was interviewing artists at the studio and getting like one-on-ones with them. Just like depending on who I was talking to, it was like, I want to be a storyboard artist or I want to be a character designer. So getting lots of feedback from professionals like that really helped me when I went back to school, kind of taking what I learned from these people and applying it to my work and seeing where the professional bar was to be like, okay, I'm comparing myself to not only my classmates, but to like working professionals. And I think like knowing that I was interested in both, I kind of took that into what I was aiming for after school and where I was testing. And so after I graduated, I started testing and going after jobs in the industry and I really wanted to get back into Nickelodeon. So I was like testing for board revisionist positions and board artist positions and character design positions. I was taking like interviews for executive assistants and like,
that's the hustle.
PA work too. The hustle,
okay.
everything. And it was like heartbreaking because I was interviewing with people I had even worked with and like nothing was happening.
Man,
and I was like, oh, is it me? But I mean, I think what I took away from that, I was hustling for like 3 months before I got my gig, which is not that bad in this grand scheme of things, but I was still like depressed. But just kind of taking that and knowing that, I don't know, you gotta like pick yourself back up and go do it again if you really want it. And
totally.
So finally, the Loud House kind of came around. I knew some people who ended up working on that from the internship, so I had kept in contact with them when I had left to go back to school. And then when the short aired, I was like freshly graduated, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love the short. You guys did a great job. And they were like, oh, we're testing. You interested in like a position? I was like, yes, please. So First, I tested for, like your Jimmy urine.
I did my best. I'm not really happy with it, but I'm sorry, Jimmy. I can do better. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
I got distracted by his eyes. So first, I tested for boarding, and then I tested for character designs because I was interested in both, and they were kind of supportive of that. And so after I did my this is the story that was told to me. I turned in my board test, and then I took my character design test and turned that one in. And apparently when I turned in my board test, they were like, oh, who's this? Because testing for Loud House was blind, so they were just looking at our work and not our names. And they had already kind of decided that, oh, we'll offer a board position to Jordan. And then I did my character design test, and they were like, oh my gosh, who's this? And they're like, oh, it's Jordan. And they're like, oh, we were already going to get her for boards. So for the first time, I got like
That's really funny.
I know. I got an email back from the executive assistant at the time being like, hey, we want to meet with you. Are you available? And I was like, oh, this is going to be another rejection. So I like steel myself, go in for like a hard blow. And they're like, hey, so are you interested in doing boards or character design? And I was like, oh.
That's crazy. That's like, that's pretty rare. That doesn't happen very often.
I don't know. I don't know. I felt like the world was crumbling beneath me.
Honestly, yeah, what I liked about Loud House testing was that testing for the Loud House, because I also tested for boards, it was very straightforward. Like, that's the kind of test that I love. It's like, here's just a single page. Here is exactly what we're waiting from you, like of you from this test. Like, we had examples.
Yeah, they had examples. Yeah.
They had examples. Like, this, like from Foster's, basically. Foster's Home of Imaginary Friend. Yeah. Like, they were like, this is the kind of boarding that we want. Now, can you make that work with these characters and this page's script? And I was just like, thank you. I can do this.
Yeah. Because that's basically like the same as the job, right? Like, they're setting you up for exactly what you would be doing, which was super nice.
And it didn't even take that long. I mean, I don't know for you how long you spent on the test, but I think I spent just like a single day on it.
Oh man, you're way better than I did. I think I spent a week on it and I was like, okay, I can't do anything. It's gonna be like, this is my life now.
Well, I guess also I had like I tested for it after like 5 or 6 years of industry work, so it was
nice. Yeah.
I was also just at the point of my career where I was just like, I am never gonna spend more than 1 day on a test now.
That's good.
Oh my gosh.
No matter what it is.
I think I was still in like the college like perfectionist mode. So even in when I was boarding for Loud House, I was like, okay, my first board has to be perfect. So I did like a really rough pass, and then I wanted to do like a rough tight pass, and then I wanted to go back and do it a third time in like a clean pass, and I did not have time for that. And it looked like dookie, you guys.
I doubt it, but I get it.
It was bad.
I feel though, like, yeah, when you're just like in college, it just makes sense though that you would like spend more time on a test, right? You know, like, because you really want to get your first gig. Like, you really need to get your foot in the door. So
yeah. You gotta impress the people. Impress them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't want to do tests.
Yeah, because it's hard when you're doing it and like working on the side too. It's like 2 jobs, and
I think that like, yeah. I mean, I think that if it's a new artist that's starting out, it makes sense. When you want to give somebody a shot, but you don't know how well they're gonna do, so like it makes sense. But at a certain point, if you're hiring people who have been around for like a few years, it's like you should know if they're going to be able to keep up.
And you can kind of like see their portfolios, and like at that point you have like a professional experience and people can vouch for you, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, to ask a working professional to test is kind of weird to me. It's like, come on. Like, there's no other job that requires that, like where you still have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there actually it's like acting. For me, actors will always be like you always have to do what's it called?
Casting, like auditions.
An audition, yeah. For me, testing is like auditioning, because
that's how it was explained to me too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like when you're boarding, it's not always about like, if you could be a great draftsman, but like your like shot choices and stylistically, if you're not the right fit for a show, it's going to be really difficult.
Exactly. Like if your shtick is like, for example, comedy, but you want to like move into action, and like you're like people are like, well, we love you for comedy, but like, can you do this kind of action? Like who knows? Like maybe you can, but like nobody can know unless you've like tested.
Yeah.
I mean, I've ended up at jobs where I didn't test, and I just felt like I was not a good fit the whole time. And like, I won't say what, but it that kind of backfired on me. But nobody else ever complained. Like, everybody on the crew seemed to be happy with what I did, but I was like, I don't think
I see what you're saying. Like, it does kind of help with the imposter syndrome, because at least you feel like, no, I was chosen for a reason. Like, I have proof that like I can do this, or they see potential in me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, it's complicated. I think that we can all agree that tests should be paid. Like, I feel like that.
100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That should be definitely a thing, because doing free tests is bullshit. That's just like free work. And even if it's not used, it's like you can't expect people to just do that much, like spend that much of their time and then not get any kind of reimbursement.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like so you tested for Loud House, and you were basically offered the choice between design and boards. What made you choose storyboards?
Oh man, a good question. I think at the time I knew that was the more difficult path. Storyboarding was like my 5-year plan. I thought I would maybe start as a character designer or a revisionist first, and then like work my way up into boards. But I think on the Loud House, it felt like I had a support system where people would kind of have the patience to work with me to get to the point where I was comfortable boarding. So, and I think too, it was like, I felt like even if I crashed and burned in boarding, maybe they would make space for me on the character design team. So I was like, I really want to do boards. Let me try this. So yeah, I just kind of like jumped in, and it was hard. It was scary. It was hard. And I learned a lot, and I'm really glad I did it, because I think just the repetition of doing board after board, it became like less about, oh my gosh, how am I going to like draw this character, and like all the little like details that like you get bogged down in when you're a student, or when your design brain is turned on, when you should just be thinking about, okay, shot choices, what is the clearest way to stage like Lincoln making a soda or whatever. And I think after a while, yeah, I just like learned so much through that.
Yeah, it forces you to loosen up.
Yeah,
because you have to to hit deadlines. Yeah. And so you were on. How long were you on Loud House?
I was there for 5 years.
That's
boarding.
crazy.
It was a good long time, and I think I was getting itchy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been on there long enough. I had been drawing the same characters for 5 years, and I felt like I wanted to do something different, or work with new characters, or like look for something with like a new challenge, a promotion, something. And that wasn't happening. So the Loud House movie kind of was staffing up, and I was looking for a way out of Loud House, but I was like not finding anywhere that was willing to hire me, because I think I had kind of kept my head down and was on Loud House for 5 years, that like people were like, oh, like, can you do a different style? We don't see that.
That's the tough part.
It was like challenging to get feel like people were taking me as a serious candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like you spend too long. That's what sucks, is that it's like stability is nice, but it feels like you spend too long on a show, and then you get like
kind of pigeonholed.
Pigeonholed, exactly.
Pigeonholed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a nice stepping stone, I think. Because while I was on Loud House, I was like, sorry guys, like on the side, like looking for stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think our old character, or not character designer, our art director, Amanda Rinda, was on Loud House for a long time, and she was recently the head of DC Superhero Girls. And I think because she heard I had moved on to the movie, she was like, oh, is Rosato looking to jump ship? Is that a clue? So she reached out to me because they were staffing up, and she's like, we're actually looking for directors over here. Would you be interested in something like that? And I was like, heck yes, lady.
Yeah.
So I jumped over there. I was super excited that I was given the chance, and I also felt comfortable because Amanda knew me, and she knew my work and my work ethic, and she believed in me enough that I felt like even though this was a big scary step, I was going to learn with somebody who I could be allowed to learn with.
Yeah. No, Amanda's great. She brought me on to Loud House too. She really knows how to like take a chance on people.
Yeah.
Which is important.
This is super important.
Would you ever consider, because you said you were kind of interested in doing design at a time, would you ever make that jump given the opportunity?
I think I would. I've toyed with the idea if ever life becomes kind of more demanding on the side rather than my career being my number one focus, I would probably take a step back and do design. Not that it's a step back at all, just a different step. Right?
Well, it's less work. I mean, without a doubt. Like, directing can be a lot depending on the show.
Yeah, directing and boards are definitely like very demanding shows. I feel like there's not really. I mean, I guess for me, Loud House was probably the storyboard gig that was the easiest, but all of the other storyboard gigs are it's pretty demanding. It's
pretty demanding.
Yeah, it's a demanding job.
Yeah,
because your head's always in it.
I think even storyboarding is a little bit like directing. You're thinking about so many different things on the fire.
Yeah, like I feel like storyboarding is like you're definitely thinking about everything all the time. So it is like because even on a script driven show, you're thinking about staging and design and making things clear and like the rhythm and the pacing and the just like and upping the comedy and all of these things.
And like what can you add to like how can you be funnier than the other board artist?
It just becomes a competition.
The competition.
Although I don't think it's true at all. But yeah, the feeling is there.
Yes.
And so and so you were directing on DC Superhero Girls.
What?
And then where are you now?
I am on a Nickelodeon show. It's a new Transformers animated show. So we just got announced. I can talk about it. It's allowed.
Nice.
It just started in November, so it's been a good 4 months. Oh my gosh. Maybe not quite 4 months, but just about. And I think just having DC Girls under my belt on my resume, it made the job hunt so much better the second time around. Because, well, that time too, I had a few months, but I had to find a job. I didn't have the luxury of like looking while I was gainfully employed. Our show got cut for COVID reasons, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I was looking and interviewing and got like so much more interest because I was a director now. So on Transformers, it's a kind of whole different beast than DC Girls because I was starting for season 2 on DC Girls and like the show and the style was already like established. The characters were already like well known and we had like examples of past episodes. But with this new show, it's like, it's starting all over. We don't have environments, all the characters like acting, like we don't even have, I think we just hired our voice cast too, so learning how to act them without even knowing what they sound like is a challenge. And so I think part of my job, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say season 1s are hard. They're so hard. Yeah, it's really hard. I didn't realize until I moved to the US how hard it is to work on a season 1 of a show. Because in France you only get season 1s. That's all you get. So the showrunners have like a very, very extremely clear idea where they're going. And it's very similar to like how Loud House was, right? You know, how like right off the bat, the direction was extremely clear in terms of like where we're supposed to go. But for like other shows, like having worked on other shows, very hard season 1s, you guys. Because you're figuring out everything.
But it's kind of fun that it's hard, but it's fun that like you feel like, oh, like this is my decision that like whatever. It's cool to have that ownership. But yeah, I'm finding that this job is different than DC Girls, where I was just kind of like overseeing and helping with animatics, where like at the start of every episode, it's like, oh, we have a ton of questions to ask based on the script about like these new locations and these new props and movements and everything, transformations. I have to do a lot of like prep work for my board team just to know like what the heck they're gonna do. So it's a lot more hands-on.
It's also, can you say whether it's 2D or CGI?
I think so. It's CG, so that's a whole nother like ball game too. I've never worked in CG, and I'm learning what those restrictions and limitations are. Trying to be mindful of like just contact points, like kind of framing it so where if a character's running or walking, you don't see their feet touching the ground, or being mindful when like, oh my gosh, we're thinking about like, because we have human characters, and when they interact with objects and then like hand it off to a transformer, that object is going to look super tiny.
Oh, interesting.
And thinking about stuff like that is just like, it's breaking my brain.
Size relation. Yeah, and it's so much more stiffer probably too. Like V, you worked on Thundercats, and that's very like loose and fluid. And
yeah.
You get away with anything, really.
Yeah, that's why Thundercats was so fun, because like you could could just cheat so much. It was just the best.
Yeah. Can't really do that with CG, huh?
It's fun forgiving, yeah.
Interesting. It's tougher. Cool. Well, I think that's where you are now, huh?
That's where I'm at now, yeah. We've caught up. Present, Jordan.
I was wondering for you, well, I guess the questions that we got I guess we'll talk about it with the questions that we got. I was going to ask you about the difference between boarding and directing a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. Ask the question.
Yeah, like, so, from at Art of Jordan E. Question: how did you feel about becoming a director for the first time? And was it any different than your previous storyboard gigs? And were you nervous about it the first time?
Oh my gosh. I love that it's another Jordan. Hello.
Another Jordan.
Kindred spirit.
And I can even ask you the other question too, because it's very similar to this. From at Olive_tree with 2 3s. What's the major difference between being a director and being a board artist? I mean, what do you even do as a director? I have no clue.
What do you even do?
What do I even do?
I think that's funny though, because they say my imagination is that you yell at people through a megaphone and sit in a little fold-up chair, which I think is what everybody thinks, for real.
Nailed it.
Right?
So
it is so much less romantic than that.
Hey, draw better.
Mom, Simba has 4 legs.
Simba has 4 legs,
Mom. Okay, so the first question was, how is it, or how did it feel when I started directing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, imposter syndrome is real, kids. I think
is it?
Even now, like I've directed for over a year now, and I still feel like one day somebody is going to find me out and just like ship me back to Texas.
Oh man, yeah.
But I think, just there's a guilt in not boarding as much and like watching somebody else do the job that I used to do and being like, hey, instead of screen left, have them go screen right, redo the whole thing. And I'm just like, oh, like if I got that note, I would like be bad-mouthing my director to my friend right now. And just kind of being the one who has to make the decisions and hold your team accountable rather than being like, oh, that looks good enough. Yeah, go for that. Yeah, I guess that works. Instead of being like, actually, like the style of the show is this. I'd like to see it this way, or a specific idea. Like being clear and concise is tough and has been like a main point of growth for me, I want to say. Yeah, just kind of reminding myself that if it's not me who makes these decisions, like who? It's like now my job to make these decisions. Whether or not I feel like I'm the best board artist in the room, like is irrelevant now, because somebody has to direct.
Right. And
also kind of keeping in mind that I don't have to be the best board artist in the room, or else like it would kind of like defeat the purpose. Like, shouldn't I be boarding?
You gotta trust your team.
Yeah, and trusting the team too. That's something I've been trying to keep in mind as well. It's like just because I would board it a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that somebody boarding it differently is wrong.
Right.
And being open to those changes and new ideas and still making it work within like the style of the show, because at the end of the day, I'm still a cog in the machine. It's not my IPs, so keeping everybody honest and on track. Because I mean, as like cool as it sounds to be like I'm a director, it's like I'm one of 3 directors, and there's a supervising director above me, there's the showrunner above them. And so it's still like I'm a glorified, like, I feel like I'm a mix between a therapist, a production person, and a revisionist.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that's definitely what it is. I guess it also depends on the show in terms of like I've heard, because like for me, like right now as my first time directing, I've heard that in adult animation, like directors actually thumb out the entire episode.
Oh wow.
So that's it really depends on the gig, but I feel like honestly, like definitely the production part is very true and the revision part is very true as well. There's like a lot of notes to do. Yeah, definitely lots of notes,
a lot of redlining.
Lots of redlining.
Let's talk about your influences a little bit. Like what, because you mentioned some stuff that you grew up liking, like Lion King.
I love the Lion King.
Yeah, talk about what other stuff revs your engine, your artistic engine.
Revs my engine. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, at the start, I was a big horse girl, so drawing animals and horses was...
You're a Texan!
I'm a Texan. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw!
Drew lots of horses, and I think once I got into anime, I was like, oh, like people are fun to draw too. So what was it early on? Early on, it was Pokemon, Digimon. Rurouni Kenshin was a big one for me.
Oh, yeah.
Then it was like Yu-Gi-Oh! Then it was... what was it? Teen Titans, I want to say. Naruto was a big one. I drew lots of Naruto. And then, let's see, the fan comics, the Avatar chat boards. And then I think I started revisiting Disney movies because, like I said, I love The Lion King. But like the Disney Renaissance and like the princess movies, I started seeing like, okay, there's cool stuff in here too. So I started like kind of marrying that with the anime influence. And and then in college, it was like, you guys got to stop drawing anime. And I was like, okay.
It's a weird stigma. It's so frustrating that so many teachers say that.
I think it's like you have to have some form still to your drawings and still draw from life, even if it is in a stylistically more pushed realm.
Right.
Because there's, I don't know, you see those like how to draw anime books, and that's like how a lot of people draw anime, and it's just not good.
I guess so, but I feel like a lot of the people I know that grew up drawing anime have better anatomy than me. I mean, that's more of just my issue, but I feel like it's a good place to start.
I think so too. It's got more like life drawing.
Yeah.
Draw to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
it's
think
like a starter pack.
Yeah, starter pack. It gets you interested in doing something less cartoony. So I think because I had like that kind of as a base, and then it was Disney. Well, it was first Disney, then anime, then Disney again. And then in college, it was a lot of like, I think my whole school went through like a UPA craze, the United Productions of America. So like kind of simplifying it further to shapes and extreme shapes and playing with push and pull of character designs, and like, so I feel like mine's a weird amalgamation of like everything I've seen, but I think then that made the Loud House really easy because it was in that vein.
I feel like every job you've had is like a perfect encapsulation of everything you like.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's like, yep, that is Jordan.
Thank you. I think I've been lucky so far, and I like that. Yeah, and I think being on productions with people who are so talented, like they've, like, I think less like actual TV shows I can point to now as influenced, more like you guys and like friends who I work with.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. Have you seen my freaking thumbnail? I love it. So excited about that thumbnail.
Everyone's going to see it when this comes out. I've drawn Jordan. Well, we should probably say we're in a band together.
Oh, yeah.
We should talk about music stuff, because I think that's a big part of who you are now, and like
it is.
And I assume always has been. So yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Oh, sure. I love music. I think let's think. I grew up playing piano. That was kind of my classic training. Learned how to read music. I I kind of fell away from it because it was like taking up time and it got boring practicing, and I just wasn't playing what I was interested in because it was a lot of like classic stuff, and I was I was such a snob about music. I think I got into alternative rock, and like it just doesn't sound as good on piano.
Right.
And yeah, it wasn't revving my engine, like you said.
Yeah.
I started taking vocal lessons in high school. I was super shy, so I wasn't in choir or anything. But I think vocal lessons really gave me some confidence there. And even then, I was still like, it'd be so cool to be in a band, but I'm never going to do that because that's just not me. And until working at Nick, where there's like a music room, and I started playing with Ari and you, Gene, and it was just like fun. And there was one day I had started on keys because that's what I knew, and then I was like playing with Ari, and he was like, I want to play guitar. I'm like, you try bass, okay? Because that's such a guitarist thing to do. And I threw on the bass and just like kind of remembered like, poosh, I had always wanted to play bass. I had tried guitar, but my hands just don't contort that way. Like my left pinky is stupid. And bass was a lot less complicated in like the dexterity of your hands, I guess. And it was just so fun that became like an instant like, oh, I need to learn this passion for me. And then finally I could do like the punk rock alternative stuff that I had loved so much. And then again, like I like gave myself permission as an adult to do things that I liked to do, even though it was scary and wasn't quite what people expected of me, I guess. Yeah, so I think that was a big growth point again, a big learning. Just like do stuff you like to do. Like who cares?
Yeah, it's a whole like we've talked about it before, but it's like it's like a self-realization thing for me at least. Is like I always wanted to do this, and I don't know why I didn't do it. I mean, it's hard. Like it's hard to just say I'm gonna do it, but yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
I miss playing shows, but
I miss playing shows too. We'll there.
Come back to it.
It'll be fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. I feel like now you're this powerhouse juggling like art and music. You're a director.
We'll see if I can keep it up.
Bassist. Well, yeah. It's easy now.
It's easy
now when the world is shut down.
The world is shut down.
Was there anything specific that you remember kind of triggering your love of animation and like wanting to pursue it as a career?
As a career.
Like a moment in something or something you watched.
Oh gosh. Or
some inciting incident.
I think again it was Avatar. I sound like such a fangirl. I freaking love that show. That's what I like. Dang, just the amount of time I spent on those like the boards and the characters I felt like were so engaging, and just the kind of storytelling that I was interested in. It had like heart and character and growth, and like the episodes were fun on their own, but like you watch it all and you see the arcs and the growth and the change.
Yeah, that's huge.
And just like kick-ass fight scenes, and I think like storytelling has always been, I'm just interested in like stories and like kind of telling ideas through like fiction, and animation is just like a special place to be. And I think I've learned so much growing up. Like a lot of who I am is because of like what I was watching and stuff I learned from the shows that they had something to say, I felt like. So I think that was because I liked school. I liked taking notes. I didn't like studying, but nothing ever felt like the clear path as far as like where I should go next. But I was always like doodling, and then in my free time I was like going off to, I don't know, draw on the computer or my comics, or like come up with these weird characters in the margins of my notes. So it just felt like if that's what I'm spending all my time focusing on in my free time, why not try to monetize it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's as straightforward as that.
How do you usually deal with creative block when it hits you? And I know V wants to know what it looks like for you as well.
What it looks like for me? What do you mean?
Yeah, like for example, how does it feel like when you're like in a creative block? Because I think it's different for different people. Like for example, sometimes you have people who are like, I really want to draw, but everything I draw sucks. Or like sometimes people are like, I think I should draw, but my mind is completely blank. Or like, you know, there's like all these different ways that you can be blocked, and like kind of like, for example, for me, like recently, like this week was like a big funk because I was like kind of like my mental health wasn't the best. So I was just kind of like, I know I should draw, but I can't.
Yeah. Or like an amalgamation of all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like usually for you, like, what is it like?
Oh boy. I think I fall into like, I feel like I should draw, but like nothing's happening. A lot of the times. I remember often, especially as a teenager, every time I would hit a block, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to draw again. Like something has happened. Yeah, this is it. This is the end. And then like 2 days later, I was like, oh my gosh, I love drawing and this is all I want to do. So I think the trust of that, like it comes back is important to me. And like my mental health is like kind of allowing myself to have these breaks. And I think I believe in like there are different stages of like the creative flow. So sometimes you are in the stage where you're creating, you're drawing all the time and you're super jazzed about it and it's just coming to you and it's flowing freely. And then sometimes you're in the stage of you need to go out and get inspired. So kind of recognizing that and not faulting myself for needing a time to go get inspired is kind of been helpful to me. So I think I was doing this thing called the Artist's Way a few years back. It's kind of like exactly what we're talking about. It's like a 12-step program for creative types. Okay. And so that kind of gave me a lot of tools. So like journaling has been a huge just a good practice. Like the Artist's Way kind of has you like every morning you get up and you write 4 pages. It doesn't matter what it is, just like this, spit it out. We were just talking, Jean, about the Sound of Metal, and I think that happens in that movie too. So just like kind of journaling the junk out of your brain kind of opens you up to this like higher creative power. And so even if like that's really hard to do and it didn't like stick with me, but I like journaling like at night before I go to bed. And with those journals, I often like doodle, and like having a space where I doodle where no one's going to see it kind of allows it to be bad or good or whatever it is. And like, I think drawing just without the judgment is important, keeping it fun and low key. And then, getting inspired too, just like in those spaces where you're like, I don't want to draw, or I have nothing to draw, nothing's coming to me. I think doing stuff like this, even like there was one time I was like, I'm not feeling it. And then I'm going to like plug your podcast. I threw on your podcast and
oh, wow.
I was listening and like watching you guys draw, and I was like, I want to draw. And then I started drawing with you. And I think,
wow, amazing.
Yeah, I think just like even virtually, like drawing with your friends really helps me.
Yeah. I've mentioned it before on here, I think, but the starting the podcast helped me out of like my 8-month in quarantine funk that I hit, where it was just like, this sucks. I like didn't want to do anything, and then just having a weekly thing to chat with friends and doodle. I don't really like doodling. It's kind of hard for me to get it in a headspace where I feel where it's fun for me. But I think I need it. Like it's like you said, it's the journaling, it's the getting bad drawings out.
Yeah,
which I need to do more.
You shouldn't should yourself either.
Sure, but it's yes and no, because it's like I should be meditating more too, and I'm trying to do it more, and that's definitely a good should. It's like there's things that you need to have discipline if you want to not get burnt out, if you want to maintain some kind of either mental health or career health, or
Definitely.
there are good shoulds.
There are good shoulds. I'm just worried about, because I am super hard on myself. So I think even if you should yourself, you should also you should like allow yourself to celebrate or recognize when you do it right.
That's fair. Yeah. I think it's fair. Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, don't be hard on yourself. But that's up to everyone else's kind of interpretation, and like everyone has their own limits, and just listen to your body, listen to your mind. Mm-hmm. I think there's usually a clear sign of what you need to be doing. Yeah. And if you listen, I've gotten better at, especially now because we're all in hell. I've been trying to do better at like following my gut instinct. It's like, I am not accomplishing anything right now. Mm-hmm. I have no deadlines to hit, and so why am I being so hard on myself? Like, it's okay for me to just relax.
Yeah. And it's a good practice to like, quiet yourself and like listen, just like hear it.
Nah, but that's valid. It's become. I was watching the Headspace like Netflix thing that they put out.
They have a Netflix thing?
Yeah, they have like a small little series. I still haven't watched it. Is it good?
What?
Yeah, I started watching the first episode. It does just become straight up meditation practice at one point, kind of like the app, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not what I was signing up for in that moment. But the beginning of it, they talk. Turns out, I didn't know this. Turns out the guy who's the main voice is one of the co-founders.
Oh.
I forget his name, Andy something, and he narrates the show, and he talks about how he like gave up his career at one point and just like went and traveled the world. Like, he was in a bunch of monasteries. He was just kind of trying to find like his inner peace, like his inner quiets, whatever. And then when he had some enlightenment, came back and decided to make a bunch of money off it, I guess. I don't know. I think it's a funny, like, I traveled the world and I became blah blah, and then I started an app that makes me lots of money. And
yes, he has an accent.
Oh yeah, but it does help people, so I get it. But yeah, they talk about, I don't know, I forgot my train of thought, but whatever.
Headspace.
It's worth watching, and I think that like a lot of those principles are becoming more and more necessary because we have so much noise and
well, honestly too, I don't know, like I could be completely wrong about this, but I also feel like with just the nature of society and economy, like we're just in an environment that pushes us to just be more productive all the time. So I just feel like it's not so much that it's like a coping mechanism or like a psychological like defense, but I just feel like we're in an environment that just pushes us to just be more productive, produce more stuff online, just like show that we exist through productivity. And that's even more true, I feel like, in the art industry, like probably
if you don't post, does it exist?
It's like you have to stay relevant, and the shows are not making it easier because we get less time on productions. And I'm not trying to get on my soapbox here, but I feel like the point of all that is just it gets really hard to get your head out of work, like it's I mean, it gets really hard, like for me, to get my head out of the water, because sometimes you're just like working so hard to hit a deadline, and then you're like, well, if I worked that hard to hit that deadline, I should at least keep working this hard, or else, like, what am I getting paid for? It's like, it's this weird kind of spiral that, like, I don't know, it's really easy to fall into, and I feel like meditation and all these kind of like healthy mind practices are become like really relevant, because it's like it's just, I don't know, so easy to just get caught up in the machine.
Yeah,
totally.
Something my dad once told me is that like human beings were never meant to operate with this much stimulus of time, and like a lot of things have been made easier for us, with modern civilization, but a lot of things, basically, like our fight or flight never
went away. Like, we're still monkeys. We're still apes. And so we have all these, like, impulses, and we look for conflict when there is none because we need it. Like, our brain chemistry just, like, looks for it when there is none. Even though, we're lucky enough to have, like, roofs over our head and jobs and all these things that, like, not even everyone has access to. But it's still, we still get stressed out. We still get, like, we find things to get upset about. And that's normal. Like, that's totally normal. That's just, like, our brains are wired that way. And, yeah, I guess I'm just a long way of agreeing with you, V, because I think that, like, it's okay to accept that we're just wired this way. Yeah, I don't see it as a coping mechanism. I don't think it's a coping mechanism, but I think it's a necessary thing to balance out the sort of hectic lives that we've all kind of been born in.
Yeah, and it's also just like, like there's something that I always gotta like latch onto is that Burton Russell, he's a philosopher, British philosopher from and in like somewhere around, I think, I don't want to get my dates wrong, but whatever. Let's pretend it's in the 60s.
Yeah.
He said something along the lines of like automation was supposed to make life easier on people, but guess what? The opposite happened. We're just working more. So yeah, I don't know, man.
That shit is fascinating to me. And I got into an argument with a guy on a plane once, which I don't like to do. Well, so I was watching, we were watching like iRobot on the plane, that like Will Smith movie, and because what else do you watch on the plane? And a guy, I started like talking to my girlfriend about it. I was like, man, like, there's all these like robots in that movie that are like bipedal and they're like doing all these mundane tasks, and I was like, it sucks that like the more that these things get automated, the more people are going to lose jobs, and even like I have a beef with self-checkout counters. Like, I think they're taking jobs away too. And he like heard it and was like, hey, I actually work in robotics, and like we're working on like automation, and like that's a big thing that we're doing. And he was trying to convince me that like automation actually helps people, and that it like, but his angle was ridiculous. He was like, no, like it makes people's jobs easier so they can focus on like doing other things. And I was just like, what are you talking? And I was just like, you're wrong. Like, most of the automation just takes jobs away from people that need, like, clerks, and it's just like,
well,
what are the...
Yeah, I see where I mean, I totally understand his point though, just because, like, it's just when you like watch all the documentaries about like the big tech companies or like the people who worked at like Facebook or Google, and they all, why do they work in these companies? Because they truly believe that it will make the world a better place. Because if you don't believe that, how can you do your job, you know? And it's kind of very similar to animation. Like, you have to believe that the content you're creating like is making the world a better place, right? Or else, like, like it's really hard to like get up in the morning and do your job, right?
He was also kind of a condescending asshole. That was the real problem. He was just kind of mansplaining me a little bit, because I was like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, you chimed into a private conversation with your fucking kid. But I just thought I think that like his angle was that like people will keep, there will still be jobs because people will need to upkeep the machine.
Right.
And that is like, no, dude, no. Like, you can put, I've seen it where McDonald's have like, 5 self-purchase counters, and you need maybe one person to come in once a week.
Yeah.
And that is like 5 cashier jobs that no longer need to exist. And it's just, it's messy.
I hope you hope you voted for Andrew Yang. I'm kidding.
I voted for I'm a Bernie bro. I like Bernie. Yeah. Well, the thing is like, okay, so if this is totally a tangent, sorry, but hopefully it's interesting to people. But like, if we're talking about more automation, then we need obviously higher minimum wages, and we need, eventually we're going to have to come to some kind of universal income, because if we keep making everything easier on everybody, then we keep removing all these like low-level jobs, it's getting harder and harder for people like to just maintain a living, because those low-level jobs just stop existing. But anyway, complete tangent.
But I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, it is a tangent, but it does kind of tie back into animation, because like we see that happen in animation, which is like paper disappearing and becoming digital. So now we have jobs like that used to be 3 different people would do the jobs, and now it's just a single person. Like that's especially in boards. You could probably even argue that for design, like probably color and designing and like lines were like more often 2 separate jobs than one. So
yeah. Well, they talk about boards, how there used to be like a layout person, and now board artists are doing more and more of like everybody else's job.
Yeah, dude, I wish there was, man, how layout. I miss that there used to be layout people. Like I can't believe we have to do the layouts and boards. It's just so much.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you know, you are automating certain tasks, but what you're really doing is just saving money for the higher ups, who then go, we saved some money. Okay, cool. How do we save more money? It's like it's never enough.
It's never enough. Yeah.
So I'm all for automation. I think it's great, but you have to do it wisely, and we're in a messy transition where it's just kind of hurting everyone more than helping a little bit. Anyway, back to Jordan.
Hey.
What are some of your like goals kind of moving forward in your career and aspirations?
Well, I always wanted to like pitch and create my own content. Actually, my friend Sammy, who was on the Loud House, and I were pitching something on Friday.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah. Wish us luck. We're pitching.
Yeah,
we have a couple ideas that we want to keep like fleshing out and working together. And that's like kind of what gets me excited, is like kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks with like friends. And yeah, I think I want to start doing more of that, like if I can. It's scary to think about I think doing all the jobs that a showrunner would do, or like a supervising director or whatever. But I think that's like kind of the ultimate goal of mine, is to tell my own stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like all of us, right? We all pitch stuff.
Yeah, I think everyone should. I think everyone should try. You never know.
Never know.
You never know what's gonna hit. Well, great. Is there anything else? Did you have any other questions?
Those were all the questions. I was wondering if there's anything that you want to plug, Jordan?
Anything I want to plug? Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm just kidding.
They don't need more hype.
Well, I don't know. What do people plug?
Plug Transformers.
Oh yeah. Watch Transformers when we finally air, eventually in the future. Watch season 2 of DC Superhero Girls whenever that airs. I don't know.
Plug Q-Bomb.
Q-Bomb. Yeah, this awesome band called Q-Bomb.
Plug your own social media handle.
Oh, I am on social media. I'm on the Instagram at Jordy_Lala. That's JORDIE_LALA.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys. This was fun.
That's the end of this creative block. Thanks to Jordan for being our guest, sharing her story.
Woo.
And thanks to our listeners. Follow us on Twitter. It's at Creative Block, creative without the vowels, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to my sister Clemens for editing the podcast.
Please subscribe to the channel if you love our content. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was V. Keep be creative, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.